My fiancé demanded 40% of my salary 24 hours before the wedding. I signed the contract. But at the altar, I read it in front of 200 guests, and her family was left speechless. I'm 28 years old. I work in tech. Well, I worked until a few months ago. And I need to tell this story because what happened at my wedding, or I mean, what was supposed to be my wedding, basically blew my life into 1,000 pieces, and I'm still trying to pick up the pieces. The truth is, when people ask me what happened, I don't even know where to start, but I guess I should go back a bit to when I met Amanda like 4 years ago. We met at a tech conference, one of those boring ones where you're forced to go for work, but you end up drinking beer at the hotel bar with random people. She was there with some friends, me with my coworkers, and I don't know, there was immediate chemistry. She was smart, funny, had this laugh that killed me, and when she gave me her number at the end of the night, I thought, okay, this girl is different. And she was, or so I thought. We started dating and everything was amazing for like 2.5 years, you know, that stage where everything is perfect, and you think you found the person you're going to grow old with. We traveled together. I met her family. She met mine. My parents adored her. And when I finally proposed to her like 10 months ago, it was the happiest day of my life. I remember I cried when she said yes. Like really cried. And she was crying too. And everything seemed straight out of a movie. The next few months were chaotic but exciting, you know, planning the wedding and all that. Amanda got really involved in the details, which didn't surprise me because she was always very organized, but her mom Linda was even more into everything. Linda is one of those mother-in-laws who has opinions about every detail, from the color of the napkins to how expensive the cake should be, and Amanda listened to her about everything. I tried to stay out of it because, honestly, I didn't really care if the flowers were pink or purple. I just wanted to marry Amanda and start our life together. We had talked about buying a house, having kids eventually, building something real, and I was completely committed to that vision. I never, and when I say never, I mean never, saw what happened next coming. The day before the wedding, we were finishing up the last details. I was at the apartment we shared, packing my things to go to the hotel where I'd be staying that night because Amanda insisted we couldn't see each other before the ceremony. You know, tradition and all that. It was like 6 in the evening when there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and it was Linda, Amanda's mom, with a folder in her hands and an expression I couldn't quite read. She told me, "David, I need to talk to you about something important," and I thought it was some last-minute wedding detail, like if I had confirmed with the photographer or something. I told her to come in, and we sat down in the living room. Linda took some papers out of the folder and put them on the coffee table. She told me, "Amanda and I prepared this to protect her future, and I need you to read it and sign it today." I took the papers and started reading, and I swear at first I couldn't process what I was seeing. It was a contract, like a properly done legal document with terms and conditions and everything, where basically I committed to giving Amanda 40% of my monthly salary, deposited directly into an account in her name, for the duration of our marriage. 40%. It wasn't a shared assets agreement or anything that made sense. It was literally a mandatory transfer of almost half of what I earned. I read the document twice because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. There were clauses about penalties if I was late with payments, about how she could use that money without having to consult me, about a bunch of things that basically turned me into her personal ATM. I looked at Linda and asked her, "What is this? Does Amanda know about this?" And she answered me, calm as if we were talking about the weather. "Of course she knows, she drafted it with me. This is to ensure she has financial independence and security in the marriage." I felt like someone had thrown a bucket of ice water on me. I told her this was ridiculous, that Amanda and I had already talked about our finances, that we were going to have joint accounts and separate accounts, that we already had a plan. Linda interrupted me and said, "If you really love my daughter, this shouldn't be a problem for you. Just sign it and tomorrow you'll get married happily." The way she said it, like she was doing me a favor, or like I was the one being irrational, made me even angrier. I told her I needed to talk to Amanda, that I wasn't going to sign anything without talking to her first. Linda got serious and told me, "Amanda is at the hotel getting ready for tomorrow. You can't go bother her now. Just sign this and let's get everything ready." I told her no, that this was crazy, and she picked up the papers, stood up and told me, Amanda is not going to marry you if you don't sign this. Think about it carefully, David. You have until tomorrow morning. And she left. Just like that, leaving me standing there in the middle of my living room, unable to process what had just happened. I called Amanda like 20 times in a row. She didn't answer. I sent her messages. Nothing. At that moment, I felt like I was going to have a panic attack. Because how was it possible that the woman I was going to marry the next day had prepared this contract behind my back and presented it to me at the last minute? What kind of person does that? After like an hour, Amanda finally called me back. She sounded annoyed, asked me what was so urgent that it couldn't wait until after the wedding. I told her about the contract and there was a long, uncomfortable silence. And then she said, "My mom gave it to you today. She should have waited until tomorrow morning." And I was like, "Wait, what?" The problem is the timing. I asked her if she really expected me to sign that, and she answered, "David, it's not a big deal. It's just to have my own financial security. All modern marriages have agreements like this." I told her that wasn't true, that this wasn't a normal prenup, that this was basically asking me to give her almost half my salary without any justification. She got defensive immediately. She told me that she also worked, that it's not like she was going to depend completely on me, but that this was something she needed to feel safe. I asked her why she had never mentioned anything about this before, why she waited until the day before the wedding to present me with a contract that basically changed everything we had planned. She told me she knew I was going to react like this. That's why her mom suggested waiting until the end so I wouldn't have time to be difficult. Those were her exact words, so I wouldn't have time to be difficult. As if I was the problem. As if being in shock about this was irrational. I told her I wasn't going to sign that. That we couldn't start a marriage with this lack of trust and with her and her mom manipulating me. And she answered, "Then there's no wedding, David. If you don't sign this tomorrow morning before the ceremony, I'm not marrying you." And she hung up. I sat there on the couch, with the phone in my hand, trying to understand what the hell had just happened. The woman I had spent 3 years with whom I had planned an entire future, was giving me an ultimatum the day before our wedding. And the thing is, looking back, I should have seen it coming. There were signs, I guess. Small things I ignored because I was in love. Like the way Amanda always insisted I pay when we went out, or how her mom always made comments about my salary and my bonuses at work, or how Amanda always said things like, "When we get married, you're going to have to work harder to keep me happy." I thought it was a joke, that she was just playing around, but now everything made sense in a horrible way. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I was turning the matter over, thinking about what to do. Part of me wanted to cancel everything right there, call everyone and say there would be no wedding. But another part, I don't know. I still loved Amanda. I still remembered all the good times. And a stupid part of me thought, maybe we could work this out after the wedding? That maybe it was just her nerves, or her mom's influence. At 6 a.m, Linda called me again. She asked me if I had thought things over, and I told her yes, that I was going to sign the contract. I could hear the relief in her voice when she told me, "Excellent decision, David. I'm coming over in half an hour." She arrived with the papers. I signed them, and she left happy with her folder under her arm. But here's the thing. While I was signing that paper, something changed in me. It wasn't love I felt anymore. It was anger, betrayal, pain, all mixed into this ball of emotions I couldn't control, and I decided something right. Then and there, if Amanda wanted to play dirty, I could too. I took out my phone and took photos of every page of the contract before Linda left. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with those photos, but something told me I was going to need them. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. The whole day was torture. Getting dressed in the suit, arriving at the church, seeing all the guests, like 200 people between family and friends, everyone excited and happy without knowing what was really happening. My parents were there, super proud, my mom crying with happiness. Amanda's parents too, all smiling like this was the most beautiful day in the world, and I was standing there, greeting people, pretending everything was fine, when inside I was dying. The time for the ceremony arrived. I was already at the altar, waiting, with my best man next to me asking if I was nervous. I told him yes, very much so, and he laughed, thinking it was normal wedding nerves. The music started, the doors opened, and there came Amanda in her white dress, beautiful, smiling, walking arm in arm with her dad toward me. Everyone stood up. There were people crying with emotion, and I could only think about the contract, the betrayal, everything. Amanda reached the altar. Her dad shook my hand, told me take good care of her, and I nodded without saying anything. The priest began with the traditional words, "Welcome everyone to this sacred union," and I waited for the moment of the vows to arrive. When the priest asked us to hold hands, I took Amanda's hands and looked into her eyes. She was smiling, like happy, as if nothing had happened. And at that moment, I took out the folded sheets I had kept in the inside pocket of my jacket. Amanda saw me take them out, and her expression changed immediately. She went pale. Before the priest could continue, I spoke, loud enough for everyone to hear. I said something like, "Before we continue with this, there's something all of you need to know." I started reading the contract, every clause, every term, explaining that Amanda and her mother had presented this to me the day before and had forced me to sign it under threat of canceling the wedding. The church went into absolute silence. I could see the shocked faces, the confusion, people murmuring to each other, trying to understand what was happening. Amanda tried to take the sheets from me. She was whispering to me, "David, please don't do this." But I kept reading. When I finished, I tore the contract into pieces in front of everyone, threw them on the floor, looked at Amanda, and told her, "I'm not going to marry someone who betrayed me and manipulated me. This is over." And I turned around and walked toward the church exit. I could hear the chaos behind me, people screaming, Amanda crying, her mom yelling, I don't know what things, but I didn't stop. I left that church, got in my car, and drove away. The following weeks were hell. My parents were furious with me, not about the contract itself, but because I made it public, because I humiliated Amanda in front of everyone. My mom called me crying, telling me I had ruined everything, that I could have handled this privately, that now the whole family was embarrassed. Amanda's parents also called, threatening lawsuits, saying I owed them the money for the wedding. I blocked everyone for a few days because I couldn't deal with that on top of everything else. I went back to the apartment expecting to find Amanda there so we could talk. I don't know, maybe to close things in a civilized way, or for her to explain to me why she had done all this. But when I arrived, the apartment was empty. Not empty like she had gone out, empty like she had taken all her things without telling me anything. Her clothes, her books, her furniture, everything. She left me a note on the kitchen table that said something like, "I'll pick up the rest of my things later. Don't contact me." And that was it. 3 years of relationship, almost a wedding, and it ended with a 2-line note. I tried to get on with my life, go to work, keep myself busy, but it was difficult. Everyone at the office had heard what happened. Some supported me, others thought I had been too extreme. My boss suggested I take a few weeks off to sort things out, and I did. I went to a friend's house in another city for like 2 weeks, tried to disconnect, not think about Amanda or all the mess I had left behind. When I came back, like 3 weeks after the wedding incident, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Amanda's dad. He told me that he and Linda wanted to meet with me to talk about compensation for the wedding expenses. I told them I didn't owe them anything, that if anyone had ruined the wedding, it had been Amanda and Linda with their manipulative contract. Amanda's dad got aggressive, told me he was going to sue me, that he was going to make me regret having humiliated his family. I hung up on him and blocked that, number 2. That same night, I don't know why, I felt I needed to talk to Amanda. I needed to understand. I needed her to explain to me what the hell she had been thinking. I called her from my friend's phone because she had my number blocked. She answered after several rings, and her voice sounded tired, distant. I asked her if we could talk. There was a long silence, and then she said, "What do you want, David?" I told her about the call from her parents, about the threats. She sighed and told me, "They're furious. We lost like $30,000 on that wedding, and now the whole family hates us because of the scandal." I told her that wasn't my fault, that she and her mom had created this whole situation. She told me, "Maybe you're right, but what you did was still cruel." And she hung up. At that moment, something in me broke definitively. I no longer felt love for Amanda. I didn't even feel anger. I just felt empty. I decided I needed a radical change in my life. I quit my job in tech, something I had been considering for a while, but never had the courage to do. My dad had a small consulting business and offered to bring me in as a partner if I invested some of my savings. I accepted. It was weird. Like after all the conflict with my parents about the wedding, we ended up reconciling at a dinner where we finally talked about everything. My mom cried, apologized for having reacted so badly at first. I told me she understood why I had done what I did. My dad gave me a long hug and told me, "You did the right thing, son. That girl wasn't right for you." It was liberating, honestly, to feel like my family was on my side again. Like 3 months went by. I was focused on the new business, working with my dad, and honestly, things were going well. I wasn't rich, but I was stable, and more importantly, I was at peace with myself. One night I went out with some friends to a bar near my house, one of those quiet places where you can have a beer and talk without the music being at full volume. And I saw her there, Amanda, sitting at a table in the back with a friend. My first instinct was to leave, but something made me stay. She saw me too. We stared at each other for a few seconds that felt eternal, and then she stood up and walked toward me. She asked me if we could talk outside. I nodded, and we went out. It was cold that night. I remember she was hugging herself to keep from shivering, and I offered her my jacket, but she refused it. She told me, "David." She told me everything, the contract, not telling me before, letting her mom manipulate me, everything. She told me that after the wedding thing, her life had been a disaster too, that she lost friends, that her family was divided because some thought she had done wrong, that her relationship with her mom was tense because now she blamed her for everything. Part of me, I felt satisfaction hearing that. I'm not gonna lie. But another part just felt sad about everything we could have been and never were. I asked her why she had done the contract thing. She told me her mom had convinced her it was necessary, that all men eventually get tired of their wives and stop supporting them, that this was a way to protect herself. I told her that was a horrible view of marriage, that if she really thought that way about me, we should never have gotten engaged in the first place. She started crying, not dramatically, but quietly, tears running down her cheeks as she nodded. She told me, "You're right. I ruined everything because I was afraid, and I let fear and my mom make the decisions for me." I didn't know what to say to that. We stood there in silence for a while. Finally, I told her I wished her the best, that I hoped she found what she was looking for, but that I had already closed that chapter of my life. She nodded, gave me a quick hug, and left. I watched her walk back to the bar, and I felt something weird. It wasn't relief and it wasn't pain. It was like a mix of everything. Like when you finally finish a sad book and you don't know whether to feel good or bad about how it ended. Now, several months after all this, I'm still working with my dad. Things are going well. I'm dating someone new. Nothing serious yet, but I feel optimistic. Every now and then I think about Amanda, about what could have been, but not with resentment anymore. I think in the end we both dodged a bullet. She got free from a marriage with someone who would have eventually resented her for that contract, and I got free from a life tied to someone who didn't trust me. Did I do the right thing by exposing everything publicly in the church? I don't know. I still ask myself that today. Maybe I could have handled things differently. Maybe I could have canceled the wedding privately and avoided all the scandal. But in that moment, I felt I needed everyone to know the truth, that I needed Amanda to face the consequences of what she had done. And I guess that's enough.